and welcome in to Mid-Penn Sports Weekly, the first ever live show that we've done here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly. I'm Luke Brown and Draven Mertzi, and we are breaking down all the brackets for the girls and boys district PIAA District III playoffs, and couldn't be more excited to be doing this. We're going to talk to some of the best around the Mid-Penn, and we're going to break down all of what's going on in the Mid-Penn Conference.
I mean, it's fun. We haven't done anything like this yet, so it's really just exciting to be able to try something new, especially something that hasn't necessarily been done in our kind of realm yet. So it's cool to just try it out, see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get Cedar Cliff star Olivia Jones in here at 11:15, and then we're going from there with all the stars. We're having Josh Smith with his coach Mike Gaffey in later on for the Mechanicsburg boys team. Both the Mechanicsburg boys and girls head coaches are coming on at about 11:30. Owen Schlager, a name to watch from the Trinity team, will be on, as well as Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team, Dave Vespignani from the Cumberland Valley boys team, and we're going to be breaking down all of the brackets. And let's start breaking down the bracket, and one of the brackets that I think everybody has their eye on, and it's the boys 6A bracket here, as Cumberland Valley is the Mid-Penn representative from that. And as I pull up the bracket here, Reading is certainly the team that everybody has their eye on because Reading has just been unbelievable. And here is the 6A boys bracket. So you have Reading as the 1 seed, Cumberland Valley as the 2 seed. The 3 seed is Hempfield, and Hempfield got a big win last night. They're the Lancaster Lebanon League champions over there in Lancaster. William Penn, who played for a York title last night. I don't believe they won, but I'm not sure. They are the 4 seed. And then the play-in games, Chambersburg and Carlisle, that'll determine who faces Reading. And that's a big game because Chambersburg and Carlisle actually just played not that long ago. They played last Monday, I want to say. And Chambersburg, who is now the 8th seed, beat Carlisle. And Chambersburg was the 9th seed, Carlisle the 8th, and then it got flip-flopped because of that win. So that's a big game to watch to see what happens, and it's going to be played at Chambersburg Tuesday at 7 p.m. Waynesboro will host Red Lion on Tuesday as well. Wilson and Cedar Crest and Central York and Dallastown, and the top 7 teams from that bracket will advance to the PIAA tournament. So that's a really big tournament.
Absolutely. Reading, like you said, has just been incredible this year. I mean, to just I was gonna say start 21-0, but technically you finished 21-0. You have not lost a game whatsoever throughout the year. You earn a bye, and now you face the winner of Chambersburg and Carlisle, which that one's a little bit sketchy to me. I don't like that. I feel like both of those teams are ones that could pull off an upset. I don't know if they could pull it off in like a 1-16, but it's not a 1-16. This is the kind of like comparison to like March Madness. This is second round. You're facing a 1 versus an 8 seed, very competent 8 seed at that. That's either Chambersburg or Carlisle. Both teams have been very solid all year.
Right.
I'd be wary if I'm Reading. Reading, obviously, you get the bye, but don't lack on your laurels, is what I'll say. You are a very scary team.
Yeah, those are some 2 really good teams. Carlisle, who put together a pretty good season. Both teams finished 13-9. But yeah, I think Reading certainly knows what the narrative is, that they're going to roll through this tournament. But really, I'm looking at Cumberland Valley. What will Cumberland Valley be able to do in this tournament? They're 19-3 on the year, 2 losses to State College. I forget who their other loss was to, but they lost to State College twice. I got to see State College for the first time on Thursday night, and understandably, I mean, when you don't have a guy like Jackson Boone on the floor, who Cumberland Valley is obviously missing due to injury, State College was very hard to shut down. I've seen Trinity about 6 times this season, and Trinity has been able to run the floor with pretty much every team except for Brooks Catholic. I saw them lose to Brooks Catholic at home, but it was a Trinity that I hadn't seen before, because the thing for State College was they were able to rely on points almost every play, because you hand the ball off to Braden Shrewsbury and you almost know that the ball is going in. And that was a fun game to watch, because Shrewsbury was able to shoot from the three, the mid range, finish down low. I mean, you knew that the ball was going in as soon as you gave it up to Braden Shrewsbury, who happens to be the son of the Penn State head coach for men's basketball. I mean, he's got a rich basketball background within the family, and yeah, he was able to show it off. And I think that they're looking forward to seeing some of these teams from District 3 in the state tournament. Obviously, State College will play in the District 6 tournament. But yeah, that'll be a fun state tournament if they're able to face some of the mid-Penn teams. I want to shift gears to your expertise, Draven, in Middletown, because both of your Middletown boys and girls teams are in the playoffs. So what is the narrative over there in Blue Raider country?
Well, let's start with the girls. The girls team is one that's been really fun to watch and really exciting at times, but it's very young. The starting lineup normally consists of 4 freshmen and a sophomore, and you have a couple older players off the bench, but the only one who you can see getting consistent playing time would be Peyton Ativo, a forward. But she actually just what was it? Oh yeah, she actually had her appendix just burst, so she'll be missing at least 2 to 3 weeks and likely most of the playoffs, which it really sucks. Um, but you're down a lot of experience. But this team plays really fast. Everyone on this team can shoot. I mean, Emma Cleland, the freshman shooting guard, you'll see her pull from the logo sometimes. And I mean, every single player, if you leave them open from three, can pull it. It's just about whether or not that youth can kind of get tangled up later if they play a more experienced team. But they've played more experienced teams, like McDevitt. When they went up against McDevitt, both times have been really close. Wyomissing, who was undefeated, they were 14-0 going to Middletown. They were able to beat them. It was just all about making sure your youth didn't get you in trouble. As long as they are able to play their brand of basketball and don't have to shift it, they can be scary. And now over to the boys, it's the Mason Blazer show. All the guys are awesome, but Mason Blazer is the leading scorer. He's averaging upwards of 20 a game. He is the reason they've gotten so far. Tyson Leach has supported with great outside shooting and strong defense. So if they try and double team Blazer, especially when Blazer drives down the lane, kicks it out to Leach. Leach is open. He's going to knock it down. Max Dupes is a nice little stretch 4 who can really stretch the floor for that team. And then Braylon Huber, also shooters. This team is really solid. The only thing they're really lacking is some height and maybe some bench depth, which we really saw on display when they faced a team, like you mentioned, Trinity, a team that not only has pretty crazy height, but a lot of depth the further you get on their bench. So it's really just about, for the girls, making sure you play your style and don't have to conform. And for the boys, making sure that depth doesn't become an issue, staying out of foul trouble and trying to play bigger than you actually are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into what you talked about with the Middletown girls team with leadership and youth. I think we're going to talk a lot about with Josh Smith and Mike Gaffey, because this is a team for them who lost all 5 starters, were seniors last year. So they have a completely new coach and a completely new starting 5. So I think we're going to talk about a lot about that. And as for the boys team, they have some tough competition. I'm looking forward to seeing what some of these Lancaster teams can do in the 4A bracket. as well as obviously Berks Catholic, who has put together a really solid season, 18-3.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Berks Catholic here at Middletown.
Yeah, yeah, that's the district championship last year. Is that who you guys faced?
Yeah, it was. It, I want to say it was a game as we played each other, but it was not a game. It was never a game. They kind of just ran through us.
Yeah, yeah, I remember seeing the final score from the Giant Center last year, and I was at the semifinal game at Trinity. I believe it was the semifinal, which was a very fun game for Middletown. I mean, they couldn't have won in a better fashion. Just having like probably a 6-point lead there at the end, so it wasn't a blowout, but obviously it was uh, some insurance to. It didn't come down to the wire. They were able to win and head off to the Giant Center. That was a lot of fun for Middletown. But other teams in this 4A bracket is Kennardale, Elko, and then Schuylkill Valley will face off against Middletown. The 12-10 Middletown at Schuylkill Valley on Monday night at 7 p.m. Winner faces number 2, 20-2 Fleetwood at Fleetwood on Thursday, and Middletown needs to get past this game on Monday, and then if they can go to that next round, then it's not win or go home. It's to the consolation bracket, and obviously you would rather be in the regular bracket, but if they do lose, then they go to um, consolation semifinal and will play for the fifth place, and the top 6 teams head to the PIAA championship game. So there's a lot at stake for this first game. Second game, they get to go to the consolation bracket. Bishop McDevitt is also in this 4A bracket, and they will face off at Littlestown. Littlestown 18-4, McDevitt 15-4, with 2 losses to Trinity, and I do not believe that their other losses were within the mid-pen. I believe they were out of conference losses. But we're going to talk to Mark Risser and Joel Falcone. Mark Risser, the first-year head coach of the McDevitt boys team. Joel Falcone, the girls head coach. And they're going to be on together talking about both their teams. We're really looking forward to that around 11:30. So a lot to talk about there. Olivia Jones should be coming on any minute now to discuss the Cedar Cliff team and how they have made it this far without a loss. So that will be a lot of fun talking to her because obviously, if you follow girls basketball in the Mid-Penn, then you surely know Olivia Jones.
I mean, she's just been incredible for Cedar Cliff all year. I mean, they're back-to-back Mid-Penn champs now. We'll be able to talk to her about it, but she's just been awesome for what they've needed so far. She stepped up to the plate is the best way to say it. She has just played out of her mind all year, and she's getting the recognition she deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. And here is Olivia Jones. So we're going to bring her on right now. And the newest Mid-Penn champion, back-to-back Mid-Penn champions. And congratulations on that, Olivia.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be back-to-back Mid-Penn champs?
Feels great. It's definitely a big accomplishment, but I know we're not done here. So we're looking for bigger goals this season. That was a great stepping stone in the way, but we're looking for district and state for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you about how did your team go into the Mid-Penn tournament looking at Mid-Penns? It's an exhibition tournament, but obviously it's a really fun tournament to be able to win. How did you guys look at that, knowing that district was on the horizon?
We definitely looked at it as another opportunity. I think it was definitely a great experience just playing against teams we wouldn't normally get to play against, like in Capital against Trinity and then against Commonwealth versus Altoona. So I think it was a really good experience for us. But we're looking forward to districts coming up this Thursday since we have a bye.
There are a lot of really familiar teams in your 6A bracket, like Central Dauphin, Cumberland Valley. how do you feel like that really works in your favor? Like, do you think the familiarity with these teams helps you?
I do think it does help for sure, even though we don't get to play them necessarily in like our league. But I think just like knowing them and them being from around here, it's kind of like we know those girls, we know who's on the team and stuff like that. It's not really anything new to us. I think that definitely does help for sure. But there also is a couple new teams that I haven't really necessarily heard of in district in our district that have made like the top 12. Like I didn't really hear of Northeastern or William Penn, so I'm excited to see what they have.
Yeah, some of those teams are coming up, and William Penn is one of those teams. They play Cedar Crest. The winner determines who you play. So William Penn is also the name for York High.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the same as York High. So they'll determine who you play. Has Coach Wyatt talked about that yet? Has he discussed it?
Yeah, so we have practice tomorrow Sunday. We practice Monday. He gave us off this whole weekend just to rest up kind of, which we definitely need. I think I talked to you about that the other day.
Yeah, you did.
But we practice Monday and then William Penn and Cedar Crest play Monday night. So I think he might go down to watch that maybe. Just to see what they have. I know we watched Cedar Crest a little bit because they played a few of the teams that we had to play this season in film, but we weren't necessarily watching them. But I do know they have the one freshman who's pretty good.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about Central Dauphin being a local team in your bracket. And one of your best friends and teammates, Alexis Bowie, is coming from Central Dauphin. First played at Linden Hall, won a district championship there. Last year played at Central Dauphin, won a district championship there. And now playing for possibly her third district championship in 4 years of high school. How will that experience help you out? Because that's a lot of experience.
Yeah, that is a lot of experience. I think that just knowing like how to get there, how to play when you're there, I think that'll definitely help us in the long run with her having been there twice already before. And I think that just makes her hungrier, which definitely helps us too. So
Cedar Cliff had really only 2 losses last year. Unfortunately, that was the district semifinals and then the state semifinals. How are you guys really using that to motivate you guys? Like you,
um so last year when we lost in the district semifinals off of that half court shot, we kind of were just in shock, I think. It was kind of just like that's our first loss. Like that was kind of crazy to have that be our first loss. So I think that the motivation that comes from that, we're all just like ready to get back there and actually go for it all this time. And then in the state semifinals, we lost the state champions from last year, Plymouth White Marsh, and they were a really good team. All around, they were a really good team. Hard for us to defend, but I think that having lost those last 2 games, all the returners are more hungry for that win.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you. I'm sure that you've gotten this question come up, whether it be in interviews or people just talking with you. But when a player like you comes across the Mid Penn Conference or whatever it be, the Lancaster or York Conference, the speculation comes up that maybe a player like this is going to head to a private school in the Philly area or something. Have you thought about your future at Cedar Cliff yet?
Right now, my plan is to stay all 4 years. I've definitely been contacted by a lot of private schools and prep schools, but for right now, I'm looking to stay at Cedar Cliff.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the Mid Penn Conference title, and good luck in the district tournament.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
good luck.
Thank
Awesome. Great to have Olivia discuss everything. I mean, Mid Penn champions, district tournament, and beyond. And we're looking at having Joel Falcone and Mark Risser on in about 15 or so minutes here on Mid Penn Sports Week. We're going to take a quick break and we'll return with more analysis, more interviews coming up real soon. and welcome back to the District Playoff Preview Show right here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly. Fabulous interview with Olivia Jones, who is one of the top in the Mid-Penn Conference in girls basketball. Mid-Penn Conference title under her belt now, second actually. Mid-Penn Conference title back-to-back. She's just a sophomore, holds offers from Monmouth, Delaware, and St. Joseph's. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing what Cedar Cliff can do because of their district semifinal and state semifinal loss last year. But they just look so much better this year. Really, they do.
Oh, 100%. I mean, whenever you have a sophomore who already is D1 offers, that's leading the way. That's a pretty good start. And just the rest of the team, obviously having experience, like we mentioned in the interview, and just knowing, like almost having that sting of defeat from last year is almost a good thing. Having your team play with a chip on his shoulder, it's a great thing to have. So this team is going to be really scary. Whoever has to play them through any point from not only their playoff tournament to then the state playoff tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was eager to see what her answer was going to be on the last question that I asked, what her plans might be in the future, because I'm sure that she's heard the chatter because even I have, and I'm not at every Cedar Cliff game. I've been to 2 or 3 this season, but I've still been hearing, oh, how long is she going to stick around here for? A lot of those players head off to private schools, which isn't necessarily an issue, but they're doing whatever is best for them. But it's really cool to see players like Olivia come through this area and just so talented, and she reminds me a lot of somebody that I saw. I maybe missed 3 of their high school games, and that's Diamond Bragg, who played at Camp Hill and then went on to play at Wisconsin, transferred to Duquesne, and now is out of college. But 1,000-point scorer at Camp Hill and really talented as well. And looking back on it, it's like, wow, like it's kind of special that Diamond stayed in this area and didn't head off to a private school. And it really reminds me the same of watching Olivia play as well. They look very similar. But we are going to talk in about 8 minutes with McDevitt's head coaches, Joel Falcone and Mark Risser, and they are both tremendous head coaches, both coached with each other. Joel Falcone was an assistant on the boys' staff, and Mark Risser was an assistant on the boys' staff for 8 years. And now Mike Gaffey heading to Mechanicsburg. We're going to talk to him, of course, as well. And Mark Risser is now the first-year head coach of the McDevitt boys team. So not a lot of head coaching experience for Coach Risser, but he's really done a great job with the program, and Joel Falcone always does a great program with the girls. And they're going to talk about their playoffs as McDevitt is heading off to face Brandywine Heights, if I have that correct. Visiting Brandywine Heights, I think it is. And as for the McDevitt girls, they are hosting the first round against Bermudian Springs. That is Tuesday at 7 o'clock at Bishop McDevitt High School. The winner faces the Brooks Catholic girls team, 16-4, and that'll be at Brooks Catholic. But once again, it's the 4A bracket, so these scenarios get turned into win your first game. Your second game is kind of lenient because you can lose and still go to the consolation bracket, and they have the top 6 teams advancing to the PIAA championship games. Also in that girls 4A bracket is Trinity as they face off against Northern Lebanon. Trinity is the 8 seed, 14-8. Northern Lebanon 13-9. What do you think about that game? I mean, have you seen the Trinity girls this year yet, John?
I've gotten to see them play a couple times. They're a very, very solid group. But the thing that is most important is almost their experience, that you can trust whoever is handling the ball for that Trinity team.
Right.
I've gotten to call a few of the Middletown girls games, and in one of them we played Trinity. And I'm not as familiar as I am with them as I am with McDevitt's girls team, but they're a scary team. They're the kind of team that may not necessarily be the highest ranked, but anytime everyone knows you always have to stay on your tiptoes. They're a team that you can always pull off that upset if you give them a chance. If you leave the door open,
Right.
they're going to take it. That's the one thing you can always guarantee with the Shamrocks. The Shamrocks are never out of it.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I went to their game they played against Cedar Cliff, and we'll get into that with Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team. But you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you can trust whoever's taking the ball up, and especially I'm looking at Emma Kostelak-Lauer, who's a freshman, and she's still really really good for being a freshman. She's trustworthy. You're able to say, "Oh, Emma has it. We're good." We're like it's not a turnover. You're not gonna be able to give up on any possession against Trinity. And obviously, Mandy, who is going to play at Frostburg State down in Maryland when her 4 years are up, which is going to be soon at the end of these playoffs because she's a senior. Natalie Freed has really been impressive in these last couple of games this season. Really, she's been impressive. And what really impressed me was Sammy McAuliffe down low defensively in that semifinal game. I mean, she was playing some phenomenal defense. High stakes game. I got to talk to Sammy a little bit after the game, and I think that they took the loss against Cedar Cliff. Expected. I mean, it's Cedar Cliff. They haven't lost a game. Why would they lose in the Mid-Penn semifinal? But I do think that that loss motivated them for the district tournament. I really do. I think that they looked at that and said, all right, that's a big loss against a really big team. Let's go play some other really good teams in the district tournament. So I think that was kind of a motivating loss for them.
That's the sign of a good team. When bad teams when pretenders, I should say, when pretenders lose a big game, they fall into slumps. They lose games that they should win, and they're very streaky. When a real team loses a big game, which will always happen, no team is going undefeated. Doesn't matter who you are. No team is going to go undefeated, or if they are, just that incredible. But very rarely do we see a team go undefeated. So, I mean, when you're dealing with that kind of thing, you just have to be able to know how to bounce back. Just be able to kind of play that really smart basketball that has gotten you so far. And the reason you were able to be claimed as a good team no matter what. And I feel like we kind of see that. I'm going to transition to McDevitt girls. We're going to have McDevitt girls and boys coach. That'll be, Joe Falcone and Mark Risser joining us here very shortly. I want to speak on this girls McDevitt team because I've gone to them play in person. Both times they played Middletown. I got to call them both times they played Middletown. And they're a very good group. They're a team that has a lot of chemistry led by Olivia Jones and Alcia. They're a very solid team. And it is just about the trustworthiness. It is about the fact that they're not necessarily reliant on one player to go out there and drop a solid 50-burger every game. This is a team that when going gets tough, if one team is really locked on to a certain player, you can shift it. You can trust your other guys to necessarily go out there, make plays, and really get it done. That is something you also see a lot with the McDevitt boys team. McDevitt is a very good boys team. Led by Tristan Waters, they are very, very solid. And now you have a tough draw. You have to play Littlestown in this first round of this playoff team. Now, in my opinion, Littlestown opened their season actually against Middletown, or Middletown opened their season against Littlestown. And Middletown came out on top, and this McDevitt team beat Middletown. So transverse property, Middletown or McDevitt can beat Littlestown, but we know that's not how sports works. So McDevitt boys are really gonna almost have to play bigger than they actually are, if that makes sense. This Littlestown team is a team that's very tall. They're featuring a 6'8" center, so it's about playing big. It's about maintaining that pink defense and really just staying out of foul trouble. something similarly that they had to focus on when they played Trinity? You're mute.
We have both coaches here with us, Coach Risser and Coach Falcone, so let's welcome them in here. And pleasure to have you guys.
Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, so absolute pleasure to have you both on here together, both at one point on the same coaching staff with the boys team. Let me just start with that. The chemistry that you two have together must be something special, right?
Oh, absolutely is. You obviously form a bond and a relationship and a chemistry on any team. But, when you coach together and you're able to make it all the way to the top together and be on a staff that was fortunate enough to win a district championship and make Elite Eights and make deep runs in states, you have a bond forever.
Right. And I reached out to you about coming on our show here, and we chatted a little bit about your first game, which is at Littlestown, correct?
Yes.
Littlestown on the road, and you kind of emphasized that it's a road game. How have you talked to the team? What's the mentality about going on the road for the first game of your district tournament?
It's a mindset you got to have that you don't let anything phase you. So I knew wherever the seeds would end up is where they end up. We'd play at home. We'd go elsewhere. We'll play at a neutral floor. Just really getting prepared for a team, not necessarily where you're playing, but like I heard you guys talking when I entered. They got a 6'8". They got some bigs. They got all their guys can shoot. They have a over 1,000-point scorer in number 22 that can post up. He can also score, mid-range jumper, can hit open threes. Even their big guy can step out and knock down threes, and he'll pull them whenever. And a good post player. So, this season, out of our 4 losses. And we were 15-4 and second in the Capital, but out of our 4 losses, those teams had bigs and they were teams that would look into the post on screen and rolls or high-low action or really looking to get it into the post or run sets for post. So, that's obviously something we've been working on is what to do about that. Different defensive looks, different, defenses to help in the posts, different zones, mans, matchups, whatever. Because like I said, it has been an issue for us this year.
Now, you guys obviously like we mentioned, you guys have worked on kind of the same staff before, working on that same team. Have you guys really helped each other this year? Now that you guys are kind of on your own staffs, have you guys been able to work together almost?
Hey, Coach Falcone, can you hear?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm on. I'm good. I'm sorry, I'm on my way to New York right now, but yeah, I'm locked in. Thanks for having me, guys. No, we're really good friends still. We've been on the same staff for a long time, and we talk every single day. So there's been times where Coach Risser has been able to come into my practice and help me with some things, and I've done the same thing for him. So it's kind of nice to be with each other for so long and be able to still help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. The bond you guys have, and Coach Falcone, when you were off, we were talking with Coach Risser about the importance of going on the road for his first district playoff game. You're going to be the opposite, hosting first district game. How important is home court advantage?
I mean, I think it's huge when you're able to practice every day on your home court and shoot on your home court. And then once you get into the playoffs, you're going to get a lot more people out to your games. So it's always good to have the momentum on your side at home. compared to obviously when you go far away on the road, you don't get as many people whereas you do at home, you know. So it's definitely a good thing to have, to be at home and have that home court atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wanted to ask you, Coach Risser, about 8 years as an assistant coach, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So 8 years under Coach Gaffey, and now you're off and running. And we talked a little bit at the beginning of the year. I think it was like the fourth game when you guys came and visited Camp Hill. But that's the last time that we spoke about assessing your first year as a head coach. What did you like that you did? What will you change for playoffs or next year after your first year as a head coach?
I got to tell you, I'm really happy at the direction the program's headed, and it really wasn't a direction that needed much from me. I put my own spin and touch on it, but it's been a successful program the past decade. Coach Gaffey, the past 2 years haven't been the best record for boys basketball at Bishop McDevitt, but 500 in Macon districts are a little better than 500 the past 2 years. That's a lot of schools would take that. It's just the expectations at McDevitt are a little higher. And obviously championships are the goal and the standard. And so I think with this group this year, it was their first year getting to experience success in the summer and the fall with a winning record, and got them in a lot of extra stuff and a strength and conditioning program and the Allentown tournament, and we went to New York State and went 2-1. So just really making sure that the program stays the course it was on, but at the same time still putting my own spin and stamp on the program. And I think we did that. I wanted the game to be sped up. I wanted more shots going up. I wanted to score more. But now that we're in playoffs, now I want to play, smart basketball, have a basketball IQ, be intelligent. Now we got to play defense, and in most sports, the team that wins the championship or gets to the championship plays defense. So, that's definitely an emphasis for us headed into Thursday.
Absolutely. And Coach Falcone, you have a very young team this year, especially with your guard Formica, who has just been a real lights-out knockdown shooter from behind the arc. How do you think that'll affect you guys come playoffs?
Well, I mean, with her, she drives the bus for us, honestly. When she's good, it feeds off everybody, and we really, I've put a lot. She played a lot last year as a sophomore, and she was second team all league. And this year, she had to take a lot bigger role as far as scoring and leading our offense. So, I really put a lot of pressure on her she has to have the ball in her hands. And, I think she's done a phenomenal job this year as far as scoring and leading us and, just doing the right things to, push us where we need to get to. And, we're going to continue to lean on her in the playoffs for sure because she has some of the most experience, her and Olivia Grella. Those are my two returning players. So, for her especially, we're just going to continue to ride her all the way through the playoffs. And, she'll do well for us. She's been great all season. So.
Yeah, I've gotten to see the McDevitt girls team, and yeah, he's absolutely right that they've been able to use young players to their advantage, and we'll see how that pans out for the playoffs. Coach Risser, I want to finish off with this. Trinity was in the 4A bracket last year, and it just seems like they have a brand new team, doesn't it? I mean, with the height that they got, and Owen Schleger having another year under his belt. But they're now down to the 3A bracket. and Middletown is the other Mid-Penn Capital team. But have you thought about, like, hey, this could be a bracket that Trinity might be the 1 or 2 seed in, but rather um, it's Fleetwood and Berks Catholic that are in the lead. Have you thought about those top teams in the 4A bracket?
Yeah, I mean, we played Fleetwood the very first game of the year, and I was awful. That was my first game as a head coach. I was awful. Our team laid an egg. It was just bad. And then Fleetwood, we didn't really know that early on. I knew on tape they looked good, and I knew, they were supposed to be good. But as the season played out, looking back at that first game, I'm like Fleetwood's they're good. They're very good. They're solid. And then with Berks Catholic, I mean, listen, they're well coached, they're experienced, they're championship led from top to bottom. They got returning guys, so they're a juggernaut. Any team that can stay with Reading at Reading in a 3 or 4 point game, and then beat Trinity at Trinity, you know. But either way, like I said, right now, the only thing I'm really concerned about is we're the 6, Littlestown's the 3. We play them Thursday, and we'll see what happens. But my focus has solely been on Littlestown, and even when Octorara and them switched, I thought that they would go back to the 3, so I just kept watching tape on them, kept talking to coaches, kept studying them, had our guys watching tape, practice stuff. I just care about the 3 and the 6 seed right now.
Right, makes sense. Thank you both, coaches, for joining Mid-Penn
Very
Sports
much.
Weekly, and good luck in your district brackets.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
Right. Once again, awesome to get the perspective from both McDevitt's girls coach and boys coach. And yeah, it was interesting to see what Coach Risser had to say there in the question there, is because this could be a Trinity bracket. We saw Trinity lost to Middletown last year, but really, I mean, it's hard to beat Trinity. And we're going to talk about that coming up in a couple minutes right after the break. Owen Schlager joins us coming right up. And I had to experiment with the countdown as we return on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly, the playoff preview show right here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly. And we are nearing an hour into our playoff preview show. Coming up is Owen Schlager, hoping to have him on momentarily, but a lot of good stuff to talk about with him. But we are looking at some more interviews coming up. Mike Gaffey, Josh Smith from the Mechanicsburg boys team, Dave Vespignani from the Cumberland Valley boys team, and Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team all will be on shortly here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly, and couldn't be happier than it's district playoff basketball time.
Man, it's a great time of year, isn't it? The weather may suck, but we have basketball. That's what matters, isn't it? That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Especially when playoff basketball.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the spring a little bit, a lot of fun lacrosse and baseball that we'll be covering here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly. Baseball is always such a fun time, and I really got into lacrosse last year, and so much good lacrosse. I mean, Redland is always on the brink of success. Trinity will be an interesting team. I think that they'll be really good. Cumberland Valley is always really good, but they'll be without Max Wilkin as he went to graduation, so he's no longer there. But Trinity with a brand new head coach. I believe it's Jerry Stanford. I know it's Stanford, but I believe his first name's Jerry. But yeah, should be a fun spring season. But first, playoff basketball, and who is more suited up for the playoffs than Trinity, right?
Oh man, this is a team that I've personally gotten to see play a couple times, and man, are they good. They just have scoring, they have height, they have depth, they have experience. Any aspect of a team that you could want, they have. And you kind of mentioned it in the earlier interview with Mark Risser of McDavid Boys Basketball, that they almost look like a new team. I mean, Owen Schlager is about to join us. Obviously, he's got another year under his belt. He's more experienced. But then you have the new guys kind of coming in. I'm blanking on their names, but you had the 6'10" and the 6'7" fella come in.
Yeah, Mike Bendiston and Adelph Cisse.
Yes. Just two new players, and while they have been great, I think quite literally the biggest aspect about them is just their height. Teams like Middletown and McDavid don't necessarily have the height. That's where Trinity's really just been so dominant, is that they have these two guys who are both 6'7", I think 6'10", if I'm not mistaken. Then added to everything else that they had from previous years who stayed. It's just scary.
Yeah, and once we get Owen on here, we're going to talk a little bit about how important that height is for them. I mean seriously, the rebounds that they're able to get with those guys, especially Mike, is truly remarkable. I mean, every time, and I'm surprised that they don't utilize the low post more often, but they have such great players up top with with Owen and Emil Way was the name I was blanking on, but Reese Brown, the freshman. I mean, they really have done a fantastic job building a complete program. And the Mid-Penn Capital is tough. We just talked about that with Coach Risser from McDevitt, but they went on to play McDevitt. I was not at the game where McDevitt were at Trinity. I was at the game at McDevitt, as we did a little stream on Penn Live, and McDevitt had the 6-point lead at the halftime break. And then the fourth quarter, Trinity explodes, 38 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, 38 points in one quarter of basketball in high school is yeah,
that's not something you do.
Yeah, it was crazy, and completely turned the game around. Trinity won by 20 points, and when they were down at halftime by 6. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. You know that is a special game. When you have a 20-point lead after being down 6 at the halftime. So that goes to show you. I mean, Their rebounding is top tier with Mike Bendiston down low. Adelph has been able to get rebounds too. Owen Schleger is the point guard, but he has height. I mean, how often do you come across a sophomore point guard who can dunk? I mean, seriously, it's a really hard team to beat, and hopefully we get to talk to Owen Schleger. But on the docket coming up is Dave Vespignani from the Cumberland Valley boys team, and they hold the 2 seed in 6A. Reading holds the 1 seed, so we'll talk to him in a little while as well. And then Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team. So really should be looking forward to both of those interviews. Mandy Roman played her first season at East Penn. They missed the playoffs, I believe, in her freshman year, and then she made the switch to Trinity, and I think that it's paid off because they've been able to really roll through, and she's been the leader of this team for a while. Last year, she was kind of the main player because Lauren Trumpy, who would have been the main player, is now playing at Northwestern in the Big Ten. Would have been the main player, but she had, I believe it was an ACL injury that took her out for the season. So Mandy has been the veteran leader of this team for the past 2 years, which is something special. So let's take a look at bracket because, I mean, I just love looking at these brackets and seeing what my predictions might be for all of these, and especially the girls' 6A bracket. So here's what we're going to do, Javin. We are going to take a look at this bracket and make our picks. And I don't know the Lancaster or York teams extremely well, but I do know how this bracket played out last year, and I know that this is a bracket filled of mid-Penn, and let's first go to the 8 versus 9 seed matchup. William Penn, York High, hosting Cedar Crest. William Penn is 16-6. Cedar Crest 14-8. The winner goes on to play Cedar Cliff.
Man, that's tough. Out of the gate, says a very tough matchup. I have a gut feeling about William Penn. Yes, I don't know why. I feel like William Penn can win that game. Also, really randomly, because I'm pretty sure I just thought of this. Have you ever seen the Goldbergs, Luke?
I have not.
The Goldbergs is about like this family in the 80s from PA, right? Except they go to William Penn Academy in it. And I didn't realize until now that's cool. I don't know why. I just never connected those dots. Used to watch that show. But no. I think William Penn goes out and wins that game. That's my pick.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think that William Penn has the talent, 16-6 on the year, and then they'll go to play Cedar Cliff. But this is the matchup that I really want to talk about. Mid-Penn matchup at Central Dauphin High School. Central Dauphin girls versus Cumberland Valley girls. And the big story here is, can Cumberland Valley come up with the upset? I mean, this Cumberland Valley team, 11-8, not a lot of people expected them to be a 12 seed. Everybody thought they'd be like a 3 seed, but they haven't had Jill Jaycott for quite some time now, which has really hurt them. But they're going for playoff action. It's kind of questionable whether Jaycott will be available for the game. But I really like Central Dauphin here. I mean, I watched the two teams play when it was actually the night that Jill scored 1,000 points in her career as I believe, a junior at CV, and Central Dauphin still got the win. So I think that Central Dauphin is really going to come at all angles of the game. They have Kayla Fletcher, a freshman. They have Alexis Ferguson, a senior. They have Lauren Cavoli, a junior. They're able to spread it out, and I think that they're going to get the win.
I mean, like you mentioned, it might be a different game if Cumberland Valley had Jill Jaycott. I mean, a while ago, I made my preseason predictions on who I believe to be the MVP of this division. I predicted Jill Jaycott to be the equivalent of the MVP. except obviously she's been dealing with that injury. And even if she does play, I don't think she'll be at 100%. And I just don't think that'll be enough to turn the tide against CD. I think Central Dauphin can win this game. And if Jill Jacob plays, it'll be close. But I still think that Central Dauphin wins this one fairly handedly. I could see it being by like 10 to 15.
Right. Yeah, I think the big story is wait and see if Jacot's going to be available. I know that she is working on it today, and that's why she's actually not coming on the program is because she's working on getting that injury cleared up. So definitely looking forward to see if she can be present for the playoffs. Manheim Township and Ephrata. Manheim Township is 15-7, but they are the 7th seed. Ephrata is 17-5 as the 10 seed, which is very interesting, because they've played the same amount of games. It's not like they have a better record because they've played more or less games. Same amount of games. 7 losses for Manheim Township, 5 for Ephrata. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Manheim Township have played some really good competition, or else they wouldn't have the 7th seed.
You know what it tells me? It tells me that Ephrata is angry. If I'm a player for Ephrata and we have a better record and I'm still on the road, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. No. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove all of them wrong. I think Ephrata wins this one solely out of spite. Spite is a very powerful weapon. And unfortunately for Manheim Township, really just kind of use those two words, it is not on their side. It is on Ephrata's side. And I feel like if Ephrata goes out and plays with a chip on their shoulder, that they can win that game. But like you said, Manheim Township has played some very tough competition. But Spite's a different level. If that just Mamba mentality, that almost makes sense. A different gear in your head just activates when you're angry. And if Ephrata plays with that, I don't know, man. Give me Ephrata.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a really good point that I didn't really even think about, is that Ephrata's like, are you kidding me? Like, we're playing at Manheim Township, but we have put together better wins and a better record. So yeah, I like Ephrata here too. I mean, I really do, and I think that they're going to go play at Central York in the second round. Northeastern versus Dallastown, and this is one game that I know we kind of already got our upset picks in, both you and I, with that last game, but I like Dallastown a lot. I don't know why. There's just something about that Dallastown team that I like. They're 14-8 on the road at Northeastern, 17-5, the 6th seed, and I like 11 seed Dallastown to go play in the next round.
I can get that. I can absolutely understand it, but I can't agree with it. I think Northeastern. Now, if anyone's ever filled out a March Madness bracket, you can't just pick every team to upset, because then none of them are upsets if every team upsets. But aside from that, still got to take the bigger dog here. I think Northeastern is a very good team, especially they'll be at home. Dallastown has to go there. I just don't see Dallastown winning it. I think it could be close, but I just don't think Dallastown can escape with a victory from Northeastern. So give me Northeastern, go advancing to the next round to play Lebanon.
Yeah, and then I think that's for me where the Dallastown magic ends, because they're facing Lebanon, and Lebanon is right up there with a team like Cedar Cliff. Cedar Cliff's 21-0. I believe that's before the 2 mid-Penn wins. I believe that they're 23-0. But Lebanon 22-0. And I mean, how can you bet against that? I mean, come on, you got to take Lebanon in that game, right?
No, even if Northeastern wins that one, I think we're both agreeing that Lebanon is just going to advance. I don't see Lebanon losing in that first round. I just don't think they're that kind of team. They're 22 and up to they're 22-0 up to this point. There's no way that their first loss is gonna come in their first playoff game. There's just absolutely no way.
Yeah, I agree. And as for Central York beat Cumberland Valley earlier this year. I know that they had a big win there. In our books, they're going to play Ephrata. I think that's the big dogs are going to continue to win in this bracket.
Yeah.
Central York gets the win.
I mean, Ephrata's spite ran out. The anger works against Manheim Township, but they're not.
Now it's okay to be on the road. You know, playing a
yeah.
19-2 Central York team, it's okay to be on the road.
Yeah, no. Except that it just okay. Understand it. Except have control of the emotions. It's Central York.
Central Dauphin on the road against Red Lion. This is where it gets interesting, I think. I think that Central Dauphin, the 5 seed, is going to beat Red Lion, the 4 seed. That's what I have.
I agree. I love that take. I think that's a very winnable game for Central Dauphin. You best believe that Central Dauphin will show up. The fans will go for that game.
Oh, yeah.
No matter the distance, they travel very well. I think that's a very winnable game for Central Dauphin. I almost put it more in their favor, especially being on the road. I think because that's also a 5 and 4 seed. Central Dauphin. We talked about the chip. Now it might not be as much as Ephrata has against Manheim Township, but you mean like they got a bye and we didn't? We actually had a better record than them. What is this? We had 1 more win and 2 less losses. This is absurd. Why are they the ones who get a bye?
Right. Yeah, I think Central Dauphin really just has the pieces. I think that they played in a very tough Commonwealth division, and their record at 17-4. It would be 18-4 if they reached this game. So, regardless, a mid-Penn team is going to play Red Lion in the second round, but I think Central Dauphin is going to go to the semifinal, and that brings us to the other semifinal team. It is going to be in my book, it is William Penn. I believe you said the same against Cedar Cliff. And I said this to some of my friends from Cedar Cliff the other day. I said I just don't see a world where Cedar Cliff doesn't at least reach the state semifinal. Just the way that they play, they look like a whole nother team compared to some of the teams that they played in mid-Penns in the regular season.
Oh, 100%. Cedar Cliff, you love William Penn, but no. Cedar Cliff wins this game fairly handily, I believe. They're just so out of this world. They're 21-0 for a reason. Just, yeah. Give me Cedar Cliff there.
Yeah, and then you go to the semifinal game, Cedar Cliff and Central Dauphin.
That's a tough one. That'll be in Cedar Cliff. And then then it gets very tough. You have to think about just how everything goes. Obviously, if any unpredicted injuries happen, God forbid, some stuff like that. But I've really liked Central Dauphin the first 2 rounds, but I'm afraid I can't go with them. I think Cedar Cliff is the one who wins this game. I feel like not fairly handedly. I think it'll be in the realm of victory for Central Dauphin, but I think Cedar Cliff probably wins this one by about 8 to 10. Not anything crazy, but they won it.
And we'll get back to the girls 6A bracket, but first we got a special guest with us, the Cumberland Valley boys basketball coach, and a pleasure to have you on the program, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate all you do for our local sports and the coverage you give it. So it's great.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun when you have teams like your team in the boys 6A bracket as the 2 seed, and that's going to be a really fun bracket to watch. How much attention have you given the other teams in your district bracket yet?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the year, you're always, sort of checking the rankings, seeing and watching teams. The 6A bracket is just loaded. I mean, top to bottom. I mean, there's 12 teams that make it, and every year there's a handful of teams that don't make it that could definitely win a game. Obviously in 6A, it sort of starts with Reading. I mean, Reading is the 2-time champs. It's won the state title a couple years ago. They are the kind of top dog in the division. But again, you look 1 through 12, and I think all 12 teams can win games in the tournament, and so just a lot of it's matchup based, but again, you just got 12 really good teams, and so you kind of throw seeds out the window.
I mean, you guys got a chance to see the Mid-Penn Championship. Do you think that was kind of a motivating factor going into the playoffs?
Sure. I mean, I think the best part for our kids, and again, our whole team was there. We stayed, we watched the game, and just to kind of see the atmosphere, just to kind of prepare yourself for what a playoff atmosphere looks like. And again, we've been in some playoff games over the past couple of years, and we've got some returning guys who have been in those scenarios. But just to understand that, in the playoffs, every possession matters. You can't have situations where you take 2-3 minutes and you don't play well, or you don't make a shot, or don't defend, or don't do those little things. Because again, when you have teams that are all similar talent, similar ability, it's the team that doesn't make the mistake a lot of times that continues on. And again, when you get to this stage in the whole thing, there's only one team that really kind of ends with a win. So you got to do everything possible when you're on the floor to make that happen.
Yeah. And speaking of doing anything possible to win, I think mid-season, the narrative sort of started to shift around your team because of not having Jackson Boone available due to injury. That's been a lot of talk, is how well are they going to be able to play without Jackson on the floor? What are your thoughts? I mean, districts coming up, hopefully states coming up, and without Jackson Boone, how much of a difference is that going to make?
Sure. I mean, obviously when Jackson got hurt, as a group, we felt awful for him. Obviously being a senior, being this his last opportunity, just how hard he worked to get himself to a position where, he was a very, very good player for us. And so obviously we felt bad for him, but, we knew no one was going to feel bad for us as a team. And we needed to kind of, one of the things we had to do when he went out was maybe sort of change our identity a little bit. Early in the year, we were 2 posts. We played a lot of high, low, inside out. Whereas now we're a little more perimeter oriented, a little more guard oriented. And so the positive was when he did get hurt, we had 10 games left on our schedule to sort of figure out who we needed to become and what we had to do to kind of get ourselves in the best possible position. And I thought our kids really did a great job of finishing the season strong and kind of putting ourselves in a good position moving into the district playoffs. To be able to kind of, see what we can do and see what kind of run we can make. But obviously we had to become a little bit of a different team. Anytime you take 6'6" out of the lineup and you take a guy who could get 10 rebounds on any given night, defended the other team's post player, he was able to score around the basket, finished extremely well. And then he was a leader for us. He was sort of that anchor for us where when things didn't go well, our kids knew they could look to him and he would make something happen. So, we had to have guys step up and we had to have guys sort of fill new roles. And we knew we had guys that were talented enough to be able to do that. It was just getting them those game reps to put them in those positions.
Now, you guys played in a very tough, a very competitive Commonwealth division. How do you feel that's kind of prepared you guys, especially with the loss of your loss of Boone? Mm-hmm. How do you feel that's really prepared you for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, like in our league, there's no night off. I mean, I don't care what records say. And then just when you look at it and you go, we have us, Carlisle and Chambersburg, all, right. 3 of the top 9 seeds. And then you had CD East that were both kind of hanging on there at the very end, trying to get in. And that doesn't even include Altoona, who will make this, the District 6 playoffs, and State College, who won the Mid-Penn. So between just those games and that night in, night out mentality of like, we didn't have a game on our schedule where you knew you could just walk out and you were going to win by 20. You knew you had to play every night. And then I think what helped us too is we had a couple, late season games, obviously, where we got to play Central York and we got to play Waynesboro over the Christmas break. So again, 2 more playoff caliber teams. We played Red Lion earlier in the year, who ended up coming in at the 12 seed, who was a very, very good team. So we just felt like top to bottom in our schedule, we put our kids in position where they knew they had to play every single night, and they knew they had to make plays to win games. And that's what it's going to come down to over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I want to ask about Cedar Crest and Wilson. 13-8 for Cedar Crest, 16-6 for Wilson. The winner will visit town on Friday night. How much film have you seen on both of those teams so far?
We've definitely watched a little bit of both. Again, it's kind of hard in this part because it's not like you can look at one or the other and go, okay, I'm very sure these guys are going to win because they're both very evenly matched teams. But Wilson plays in a tough Berks league. They had cut three of their losses were to Reading in close games. They lost to Exeter. They lost to Berks Catholic. Like, they don't have a bad loss. And earlier in the year, Wilson, they had beat Central York and they had beat Hempfield, one of Hempfield's 2 losses. So again, very good team. They play well together, extremely well coached. They don't make mistakes. They don't hurt themselves. And then Cedar Crest was a team that kind of struggled early in there. I know they're a young group and they struggled early in there, but I think they won something like 7 or 8 in a row down the stretch to get into the playoffs, went to the LL semis. They've got some good size. They've got some guards, again, extremely well coached. So, one of the things that we sort of talked about, again, we haven't played since February 7th, so we've been practicing a lot, and we really wanted to focus on us and what we do. Both of those teams, they're going to do what they do, and a lot of it's similar type stuff, but we have to be really good, offensively, moving the ball, getting open shots, making open shots, and then defensively just being able to guard the way we're capable of doing. And so again, I feel like if we focus on what we do, it's going to be hopefully more about that than it is necessarily what Wilson or Cedar Crest will do.
You kind of mentioned how your last game was on the 7th, and winner of that game will take you on at Cumberland Valley. You're at home. That'll be on the 24th.
Right.
You kind of feel like that 2.5 week break will affect your guys in any way? Like, do you think it'll maybe have like a positive that you get all this rest, or maybe kind of too much rest is a bad thing?
Sure. I mean, initially, I think it was positive for us because we sort of limped to the end of the season. Dylan Levis missed a couple games late in the year with an ankle injury, and in our state college game up there, JD Hunter rolled his ankle. He missed the rest of that game. So it was nice for us to be able to sort of kind of take a step back, knowing that we had this 17-day layoff before we were going to play, and we allowed our kids to rest, and we didn't. That first week we had off, it was just a lot of skill work, a lot of shooting. And then this past week, we really got after it, where in the season you're playing 3 games a week. You really don't get a chance to practice. So for us to be able to kind of take this past week and just kind of really get after each other, really compete, really put our kids in some situations that we aren't able to do when you're playing 3 games a week has been great. We were able to get a scrimmage in this past week with McDevitt and Redland, and so that was great. Again, to kind of go live against 2 other teams and 2 other good teams. And so again, then this week coming up will be a little bit of a focus on, Monday and Tuesday will be about us, and then Wednesday and Thursday will be about preparing for either Cedar Crest or Wilson. So again, there's positives to be able to rest our kids, but like when you're in that routine and you're playing 3 games a week, it's hard to take time off. Like I said, the only sort of comparison, like you look at college football where they play a game around Thanksgiving and then they sit for 5 weeks or whatever for the national championship or the playoffs. So, there's positives and there's negatives, but our kids have done an unbelievable job of handling it. And we were in a similar situation last year. So our guys understand what it's like. And we just keep kind of, focusing on us and us getting better. But, again, there's positives because we got healthy, but there's the negatives of not playing. So I'm hoping our kids will be ready to go come out next Friday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing, first off, who's going to play next Friday and how Cumberland Valley can come into that game at the Dome Friday night at 7 p.m. Thanks so much, Coach, for coming on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Again, I appreciate you guys having us and appreciate all you do for our area and the coverage. It's just great. Thank you so much.
Good luck in the district bracket.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. All right. Awesome answers there from Coach, and looking forward to seeing Cumberland Valley boys. We're going to talk Mechanicsburg boys in the 5A bracket coming up at 12:25. Mike Gaffey, head coach of Mechanicsburg, and Josh Smith, their point guard on the floor. Josh Smith was great the last time that you talked to him.
Oh yeah,
We'll see what answers we can get from them coming up at 12:25 on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly. All right, we're back here on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly, the district playoff preview show. Here previewing all aspects of the upcoming district bracket tournaments, and couldn't be more happy with the interviews that we've been able to get so far. Olivia Jones gave some great answers, and everybody has been tremendous. Just had Coach Vespignani on from the Cumberland Valley boys team, Joel Falcone and Mark Risser, and coming up is Mike Gaffey and Josh Smith from the Mechanicsburg boys team, and that's going to be a lot of fun because we all know that Josh Smith is a guy that likes to talk. He's very passionate, and of course, how could you not be with the way that their season has gone so far? I mean, 11-11 record last year, snuck into the playoffs, and lost in the first round, I believe, and now they are the 4 seed. I mean, they really have done a good job. Missed the Mid-Penn tournament, though, and we're going to get into that because they had the Mid-Penn tournament, lost to Redland, and that's what had Milton Hershey in the Mid-Penn tournament. So they should be on any moment now, and then we'll have on Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team to talk about their 8-seed placement in their district bracket. So it should be a lot of fun. And it looks like they're having some technical difficulties getting in here. But let's talk a little bit more about that 6A tournament because we were filling out our 6A predictions, and then we talked to Coach Vespignani. So,
where did we get?
So we are up to the semifinals here.
Girls bracket, correct?
Yeah, Cedar Cliff Cedar Cliff against Central Dauphin, and I think that it's pretty unanimous that Cedar Cliff will head off to the district championship.
Yeah, I mean Central Dauphin's a good team. Just I don't see if I can see them beating Cedar Cliff. That's just I think a little bit out of their range. I think Cedar Cliff goes all the way to the Giant Center.
Yeah, I do as well. And here we're joined by both Josh Smith and Coach Mike Gaffey. And thank you both for joining Mid-Penn Sports Weekly.
Thank you for joining.
It's a pleasure to have you both on. And we'll start with how is the team feeling? I mean, district tournament is coming up in the 5A tournament. And this was a team that had an 11-11 record last year. Now the 4 seed. How does it feel to make such a leap from year to year? Here, Josh, you're on mute. There you go. We can hear you now. Looks like we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Coach Gaffey, can you hear us?
Yeah, take that as a no.
Yeah. Coach Gaffey, we can't hear you. Hold on just a second. All right.
Sorry, folks. We're having a couple of technical difficulties.
So I'm going to call them instead, and they can get our audio from here, hopefully. Hey, Josh.
What's up?
Nothing much. So Coach Gaffey will join us here, and you guys can get your audio through my phone here. So now that we can hear each other, 11-11 record last year, to a 4 seed in the playoffs, and here's Coach Gaffey as well. But 4 seed in the playoffs this year, how does it feel to make such a jump from last season?
Coach Gaffey, would you like to go?
I was gonna say, go ahead, Josh. You've been here before me.
Okay. I feel like the work we put in just really showed this year. And starting early in the summer, getting into the system, getting everything going from the beginning, just kind of helped us get to this point.
Now, what kind of things were in order to make that kind of leap going into this year?
Listen, all I know is I have a great group of players to work with. And so, at least I'm not a teenager anymore, but at least from a coaching perspective, I could tell from the first minute that I met these guys that they were going to be something special. You have to have guys that love to play. You have to have guys that are gym rats. You have to have guys that understand the game. These poor guys watch NBA games on TV now where the new fad in the NBA is you drive in for a wide open layup and you pass up the wide open layup to pass it up to the corner for a player to miss a three. So I don't have players like that. I have great guys that understand the game. They work hard. So at least on my end, I've had a great time. I'm also excited for our players, though, too, because this time of year, these types of games are fun to play in every night with the atmosphere that starts coming with the district playoffs.
Now you lost almost all your starters from last year, if I'm not mistaken. What was the process like of having 5 brand new starters going into this season?
I can answer this one.
Good.
I feel like going into this season, we knew we were losing a lot of people, and a bunch of people were underestimating us. But it just kind of motivated us in the beginning, especially. And yes, we did lose a bunch of key people, but I knew that we were going to be fine going into this season because all of us were capable of doing amazing, and it showed as we're the 4 seed going into the playoffs now.
Yeah, it really shows that it has paid off. And Coach, I want to ask you, what were the biggest challenges of having such a young team? I mean, you weren't around last year to witness the starters that were no longer on the program, but you certainly were able to notice that your team was so young. Was there challenges that came along with that?
There always are, and then with me coming to Mechanicsburg, I sort of knew the team and the community a little bit, but you have to learn that. So that's why I'm so impressed with our players. Like, there's a lot of things that had to be juggled within a very short period of time coming out of football and having 3 weeks to get ready for the first game. So what we did was sort of like what the old Miami Heat did. I don't know if you guys remember when LeBron first left Cleveland to go to Miami.
Of course.
Okay, and so one of the things they reported on ESPN was they went to an undisclosed private location with the team and worked on 2 weeks straight on defense, because that's the one thing you can do whenever you're gelling or meshing new players together. That's one thing that's constant. It's consistent. And so when you look at our first 2 games, when we played Spring Grove and Red Lion, our defense was fantastic. And Josh was the first guy to say it before we went on the floor for our first game. Look, fellas, our defense is going to win for us tonight. Hi, Calvin. So, that was the biggest thing, Luke, was let's take something that we can put together quickly and make that sort of like our calling card, and then the offense and the chemistry and the meshing and the experience will all take care of itself.
What do you feel like that kind of says about the future of your program? Not even just for these playoffs, but next year's season and those playoffs and then years after.
I'm just super excited because last year we didn't have a summer. I came and, I watched Josh play his first game, I think like the end of June. And I saw like about 4 or 5 summer league games. We did 3 games at the Nook. Now, luckily we could do basketball camp. And I got a chance to see all of our players play 10 games at the PA Maryland camp. So we did get a good week's worth of work in, but I'm super excited because right now, like after practice, these guys, they don't even want to leave the gym. They just want to stay and shoot or play one-on-one. And like I said, you have to have gym rats, and we have those right now. So, for the future, I'm super excited, but I'm also super thankful and super impressed that our younger players, our sophomores and our juniors, have dedicated themselves to being excellent this year for our seniors, because our seniors only get one shot at this. And it wouldn't be fair at the beginning of the season before we played Spring Grove to say, hey, we're going to be good in a year or two. We wanted to do something for our seniors right now. And because of our sophomores and our juniors, we're in the position that we're in.
Yeah, and you're in the position to face off against Greencastle at home on Monday. What's the mentality? What's the message from you, Coach? What are the players saying with you, Josh? What's the mentality going into Monday's game?
I feel like the mentality for us players is we want to win, and like Coach Gaffey was getting at, we want to win for our seniors especially, and we feel like we have a really good group this year to win a bunch of playoff games, even make a push for the title.
Yeah. Any comments from you, Coach?
On my end, it's just to make sure that the players are prepared. So,
right.
we think we're fairly well prepared for Greencastle, and we know that 40% of their points come from two guys, and one of those guys likes to do most of his shooting and working on the left side of the court. So my job is just to make sure the guys are ready. And like I said, our players all year have been very good with learning these scouting reports and executing these game plans to perfection. So one of the reasons we're in the situation we're in is, Josh was nice enough to drive the lane and get fouled and make 2 foul shots with a screaming Jim at Milton Hershey to help us be in the situation that we wanted to be in at the end of the year for the league. We had 3 goals this year, and the first was to win the league, and he gave us that opportunity by making those 2 foul shots in that game. So if you would have asked me at the beginning of the year, hey, Coach, Milton Hershey would have had to go into Cedar Cliff's locker room and watch Mechanicsburg on their phones to see if they won the championship or not, I would have said, sign me up. That's where we were. So, that's where we're at right now. We think we're ready to play. We want fresh minds and fresh legs. And Monday can't come soon enough for the players or the coaches.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, good luck in your district playoff bracket. And thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Luke.
All right, awesome to talk to Josh Smith and Mike Gaffey, and Mandy Roman from the Trinity girls team is already here, so let's bring her on as well. Thanks for joining, Mandy.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so you guys are hosting district play next week as the 8 seed against the 9 seed. Traditionally, always one of the more even matchups. Have you guys discussed your playoff matchup yet?
Yeah, we already scouted one game, and they're a little bit undersized, so we're going to look to take advantage of that so far. We've been talking about today at practice.
Yeah, practice already this morning?
Yes.
Okay, so what was the main thing in practice? What did Coach Britton have for you guys?
To work on our intensity, because we believe if we come out as, like our best we possibly can, it should be very obvious that we're a better team and we should be able to take over them very fast.
Your guys' first game is this Tuesday. You guys get to host Northern Lebanon. What's your kind of mindset heading into the first playoff game of the year?
Take no one for granted. Definitely, because we've been there, and we want to go as far as possible.
Yeah, I got to see you guys at Big Spring on Tuesday night against Cedar Cliff, and I was impressed by a lot of things that you guys had going on. And really the main thing, I think, is how you guys are able to use all of your players to your advantage. Like Emma Kostelak-Lauer is a freshman. Sammy and Natalie Freed are juniors. You're a senior. how has that really worked to your advantage, being able to use all of your players in the best possible way?
It's a huge advantage. It's kind of like a tic-tac-toe game because, like, if I drive to the basket, no one stops me. I take it. If I drive, same, you're next to the block, and if not on the block, then we have Emma on the three. So we're very lucky.
How do you feel like your guys' chemistry has kind of developed throughout the year? Because, like we mentioned, a lot of your guys' key players are freshmen or like newer people. How do you feel like you guys are really meshed over the season?
It's definitely taken a little bit of time because in the beginning, we had just a little bit of hiccups, games we couldn't have lost. But I feel like now we're in the groove with our starting five for sure because, like Emma, great job, but she's a freshman and she's just getting used to all of this. And we play with each other for a longer time, but we're really mixing good.
Yeah, it's pretty evident that you guys are able to play well together. I was impressed a lot by Sammy's defense down low, your ability to kind of rally everybody together, and that's kind of because, and we talked about this, Draven and I, before you came on, was that you've been the veteran leader for 2 years because Lauren was not playing last year due to an ACL injury, so you have been the veteran leader of this team for the past 2 years. How has that felt? How has that gone in the last 2 years?
I would say I'm definitely more confident because in my freshman year, when I stepped up at East Penn, like I was the leader. The sophomore year, it was a little bit different transition, but I'm definitely glad to be back in that spot, like the leader. It's kind of sometimes because you look around and you're wondering why things aren't working out, and maybe it's just because like maybe I need to do better and lead, which is, sometimes you have to realize if you want your whole team to do better, then maybe it has to start with you, and you have to be the light of the fire there.
Right.
Yeah, so for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about next week and Tuesday. You face Northern Lebanon. They are 13-9. Have you guys talked about that in film? Have you guys noticed anything in film?
Well, we scouted them once so far, and we're really just looking to advantage them at all of our strong points and their weak points. So, like I said, they're unfair to us, so we'll probably look to position it post, and then hopefully we come out strong with our shooters because every time we come out with like Emma and Natalie hitting, we have a very good game. So we're probably working on our shooting as well.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong. Last year at the Giant Center, York Catholic, that's the 3A District III championship, correct?
Yeah.
So you guys got bumped up to 4A this year. And what has that process been like?
Oh, it's a challenge because we're used to being sitting pretty in number one. And unfortunately this year, I think we're 8, so we're not used to having to play our way.
Right. Yeah, and number 1 is DeLone Catholic, 21-1. Northern Lebanon. If you guys beat Northern Lebanon, you go on to visit DeLone Catholic next Friday. I'm sure that that's too far in advance to discuss for the team, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for joining Mid-Penn Sports Weekly, and good luck on Tuesday against Northern Lebanon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yep.
Thank you for joining.
All right, yeah, I'm really interested to see because she's right. Trinity is used to being the number 1 or 2 seed. This year, they're the number 8 at 14-8 in a tough Mid-Penn Capital division. So, if they beat Northern Lebanon, go on to face DeLone Catholic, the number 1 seed. DeLone Catholic is 21-1, so a really talented 4A bracket.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's been the biggest. We know how talented Trinity is, except now you're playing in a size up. You're playing in a completely, especially I think mostly you're playing teams that you haven't played before, or if you have, not nearly as often as teams that you'd normally be seeing. So not only are you now playing a bunch of just bigger schools, but you're also playing a lot of teams that you're just not really familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely correct about that. Playing really the only team that I think that they've seen this year are the Bishop McDevitt and Middletown Mid-Penn Capital opponents. So yeah, there's a good point that you bring up there. But that does it for our Mid-Penn playoff preview show. This was a lot of fun and something that we are going to continue doing for other events, maybe some spring previews and stuff, because this was a lot of fun bringing on different interviews and things like that. So thank you so much for tuning in for our district playoff preview special. And we look forward to seeing you next week to discuss more district playoffs on Mid-Penn Sports Weekly next week.
So, thank you.